One. Hi. I hope that we're recording. I'm Mike Morales. You are watching and listening to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our channels and networks. I'm here in San Antonio, and that young man out there is
Rick Levy in Escondido, California.
Rick, and I have been dissecting and having fun with the legendary El Tequila. This is the one that we're having tonight, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. Uh, this is the, if this label looks familiar to you, it is the old school Tequileno. This is probably the kind of label that you're used to seeing. Um, I would venture to say that a lot of bars have this as their well tequila, and for good reason. This is the mixto version. All right, and this is a first for Tequila Aficionado, I believe, all the way around, and a first for Rick and myself. This is the first time we've ever tasted a mixto online on a review. Uh, Granted, we've had some really, really bad 100% agave tequilas throughout the 20 some odd years since 1999. Um, but by the same token, a lot of people turn their noses down to mixtos. Traditionally, a mixto is anything made with 51% agave, 49% other sugars. Okay, that's what the law says. The laws and regs, the rules and regulations of tequila. It is not known as mixto in Mexico, whether it's a 51-49, a 70-30 mixto like this one is, or a full 100%, it's all tequila. Okay, there's just two separate categories. One's 100% and one is tequila. We ourselves, the American palate, we distinguish it uh, as a mixto, which is it's a corruption of the word mix. But anyway, a lot of people turn their noses down at a mixto. But I will tell you too that years ago, when I first got involved in this game and was drinking tequila, there were times I couldn't afford a full pop, Chinaco or whatever was out there, because there wasn't a whole lot. There was El Tesoro, Chinaco, and if you wanted to fall into that Patron, that was all you had. But every once in a while, there was something in a $20 range or below that you're going, this can't be real. But anyway, you went ahead and bought it, and turns out that those are the more reputable, or have been in the past, the more reputable mixtos. So Tequileno is originally known as a reputable mixto, and there's a reason for that. For those of you who have followed us or know anything about uh, uh, touring in Mexico, myself and 34 other people were on the first, what we call the Blue Agave tour. And this was before tours were ever even popular or became a thing. Okay, this was the first ever arranged tour ever, before they became popular. And the cool part was, one evening, all of us, we all hung out together, all 35 of us, because we all knew each other from a forum. And we were walking the streets looking for food, and it's like 11 o'clock or something like that. And somebody says, he says, we're going to go down the street to the oldest bar in Tequila. You want to come? I said, sure, because it was either that or go right in my hotel room. So we walk into this, literally a dive bar, and they have a jukebox on one side and an old dilapidated bar on the other side. And it was almost like I was transported back to some of those golden age Mexican movies, from the golden age of Mexican cinema. And that's exactly where I thought I was. The only thing was missing was mariachis, but we had the jukebox. And the guy behind the bar, really nice man, kept the bar open for us, because he normally closed at 11 o'clock. He kept it open for us till about 1 or 2 in the morning, where we then proceeded to go into the parking lot and drink some more. So I'm gonna blog about that really soon. I actually have, and I have those blogs. I'm gonna make those available probably in 2021. But what? So Rick, this is I believe this is your first experience with not only El Tequileno but the Tequileno Mixto. What are you getting on the nose?
I can certainly pick up the agave.
Yeah, I'm
That's
getting a lot.
there.
I'm getting a kind of a muted version of the Platino. I'm getting the citrus notes that
Right.
we got. The Platino was very bright, very. The aroma was right in your nose, man, like right up in your face.
And there's a small accent of some sharpness that I think that I get with mixtos.
Now, to be
Uh,
clear, Rick just popped his open. It's just a it's considered to be a well tequila. I'm sure it's just a screw top, so it's nothing
yeah.
special.
Well,
Um,
Tapatio's a screw top. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah, right. It's not meant to be fancy, bottling. And like I said, this is very very much. If you look at some of the old pictures of the labels, they kept the flavor of the old label alive. I mean, this is you can spot this label a mile away if you've ever had a batanga at La Capilla, which is the oldest bar in tequila.
Um, I think I might be getting a little bit of a metallic.
Now I'm using a Stasel Jarrito, but I am using the prototype, which has a thicker base. That doesn't really mean a whole lot. The glass is a little bit thicker as well, but Rick has the final version of the glass. I like that the legs and tiers are still, similar to the Platino. It doesn't look like
Right.
it's anything added. This is the Blanco. When we talk about percentages, it was a time where uh, adding more agave into your mixto gave it more of a regular tequila taste without the cost. It kept the cost down. So this, to my knowledge, and from what I've heard from the folks at El Tequileno, this is a 70% agave, 30% other sugars. Okay, so the dominating taste or smell should be the agave more than when you do a 5149. Sometimes you have to add caramel flavor or something to make it palatable. Okay, I want to dive in. It's been
All
so long
right.
since I've had a mixto. I'm
Me too.
kind of anxious to see what I'm getting here.
Not bad for a mixto.
No, I agree.
And
Uh,
with a 70% agave, it's almost there. It's I think it might be a little bit hotter than the Platino was.
do you mean on the finish, on the back end, or
Yeah,
like a mid palate?
certainly going down. It was a little bit hotter for me, on the back end of the palate going down.
Yeah. Um, the notes of anise that we got in the Platino, for some reason, are becoming more, for me, becoming more known to me in the mixto versus the
More
Platino.
pronounced.
I know that you got it initially, and to be fair, I actually had some. I had opened these bottles because I was anxious to act. It's rare that I actually had the time to get to these before we pop them on the screen, on live. But to be honest, I was anxious to try it because I'd never had it, and and that evening at La Capilla was quite fuzzy. So I'm not sure if I had a batanga or not. And in those days, we didn't distinguish. We were just happy to be there. We didn't distinguish. We didn't get into the details and the nerdiness that we get into now.
Right.
We knew that some mixtos were more reputable than others, and everybody who had a mixto was a Cuervo mixto, and those are all 5149. But at that time, I hadn't done enough research to know that there were 7030s. I had one before. I used to buy them because I wasn't making a whole lot of money back in those days, and I'm still not. But now things have changed. But they had one. There was a company called Viuda de Romero. They used to make a great sangria, Viuda de Romero, and it's Romero's widow. And I really, really enjoyed that tequila. I would buy it over and over again. Me not knowing, not even knowing how to actually read the label and look at it and say that there's no 100% on it. But it was really good, and it was quite reputable, and the price was amazing. In those days, to find a tequila that you could buy for $19 without it killing you in the morning was hard to do.
Yeah. So, do we have a price point on this? Do we know what
the price on the mixto? I don't have one. I'm not sure. Does if Old Town has any pricing on it?
Yeah, it's not coming up on Old Town.
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not even sure. Maybe a Total Wine would carry it. I'm not sure. That's a good question. I'm wondering, because in those days, it was to keep costs down and still use a lot of agave that you had. But the other thing too is it wasn't as if people were looking for a 100% tequilas, because they knew very little about it. And boutique tequilas, at that time they were called boutique tequilas. Nobody knew what they were. You had El Tesoro, you had Chinaco, and you had Patron, and whatever high-end Cuervo was doing. At that time, it was 1800. El Tequileno Blanco at wine.com is going for $23.99, apparently. And in other places, it's actually getting very high reviews. You're getting 4 out of 5 stars on the flavor profile. There's another one. Another place has it for $24.97. So within a buck or two, you can get it for $23. I'd venture to say there are other places that you can get it for even cheaper. It's not going to be like in the old days where you can get it for $18.99. You're not gonna find it for that. What else do you want to say about it, though? This is your first venture since the days of yore. So what. I mean, you used to, right? We all cut our teeth on Jose Cuervo, correct?
Right. Yeah. Oh, so much better than Cuervo.
Yeah, for a buddy of mine who introduced me to supposed high-end tequila, would only drink 1800. He wouldn't, and in those days, 1800 was the higher end of, but it was still a mixto, unbeknownst to us. They put it in a different bottle, they priced it a little bit differently. Still a mixto, but it was 1800. So, what do you think? Do you like the character? Do you think is this
I do.
Well tequila for somebody?
And, I think it's better than a lot of the big 100% puro brands by the big industrial producers. Yeah.
Would you go on a limit? Would you go on a limb get this for yourself? Or I mean, I know if you look behind Rick, there's nothing but 100% agave tequilas behind him, as you can see.
And I love looking for deals, and like for the past year, I've told Mike about this. Here in Southern California, the original importer distributor for G4 had been just dumping huge cargo cases of G4 on the market here through Costco. And so I've been picking up G4 Blanco for $24 a bottle for like 9 months, and I just backed up the truck. And so but I love a good bargain. So, I'm always looking out for bargain tequilas, and there are other puros out there like Olmeca Altos. That's a good price point, and that's 100%. It's either part or all Tahona crushed.
It's half and half, I think.
Yeah, and the pricing on Tapatio isn't far off because you're getting a liter for a little bit more than that. It's usually like 35 for a liter. Um, so yeah, but if I was somewhere and I was ordering a drink and they were going to make it with this, I wouldn't turn my nose up at it. I'd just bring it on.
Yeah, me neither. I think there are two reasons why they continue to make it like this. Number one, it is a tradition. It's a traditional. I mean, you couldn't outside of tequila and outside of Mexico, you never saw this bottle. Never, not even in the States.
And now that you've seen this video, you could have a story to tell while you're serving it.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing too is there are probably two reasons that Don Javier, God rest his soul, he's passed on. He was the proprietor and bartender at La Capilla. A lot of you folks who are watching this have probably met him, taken your pictures with him. He was such a nice man, really sweet guy. Anyway, I think there were two reasons why he used this. He used to say that it was because the flavor profile would blend nicely with Mexican Coke, which we know is made with real sugar, and the lemons that he would use. And then he would stir it with a knife. That was the finishing touch. He'd stir it with a knife and serve it to you, and that was La Batanga. But I think the other reason was, I think it had a good price point for Don Javier. And why am I going to make a cocktail, with 100% agave, when I can use something this, you know what I mean? It's almost like he thought it was a sin to take a really good 100% and make a cocktail out of it, right?
Right.
Because he's the one. He literally was the one that ushered in the cocktail outside of the Paloma and the Margarita. The Margarita was, an American invention somewhere, either in Tijuana or whatever origin story you're buying. But the Batanga is purely Mexican, and I think I had heard him say that it was the best flavor profile for his cocktail, but I also believe that he probably had a really good price on it. So, God rest him. I'm going to go ahead. Brand of Promise nominee. We've never had a mixto category. We've had this year. We've had every category you can imagine. Every category you can imagine. And this is. You think we'd have had a mixto now and then, between now and between 1999 and now, right? This is our first one. So congratulations to El Tequileno. I'm glad that they're keeping it around, because it really is more of a traditional cocktail tequila. And I like you said, I wouldn't turn my nose at it at all. I think, and for the price point, really you can't beat it with a stick. So congratulations to them. Stick with us. We're going to try the last of the line here. That's El Tequileno Reposado, I think, right? Yeah, okay. You have been listening and watching to Sipping Off the Cuff on Tequila Aficionado Media on all of our channels. I'm Mike Morales here in San Antonio. That gentleman out there is
Rick Levy in Escondido.
And don't forget, download your podcast wherever you listen to us, iTunes or Spotify or anywhere else. And, subscribe to our YouTube channel, hit the notification bell, hit that red button, unless, of course, you're afraid of commitment. And whatever you do, tomar sabiamente.
Sip wisely.